Good evening, Sergey.
Good morning, Maria. How are you today? It's an early morning for you, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Here in America, we don't answer that question and just shoot back. How are you?
I'm good. Let's get going.
Yes. So we are now in a highly uncertain situation. We are running out of funds that we already got, and we have no idea what kind of funds we might go for in the future, and what kind of customers, if any, we will have, and paying how much. So this is a hard place to be. And what would be amazing thing, since we are working in decision making under uncertainty, it's a perfect moment to apply our tool to figure out what to do in this particular situation, don't you think?
Totally. I've been looking forward to this moment. The snake is biting its own tail. We preach what we teach. Let's do this today. If you don't mind, do you think it would be wise to share a bit of context with the audience on what the team has been up to and what we'll be looking at today?
Absolutely. So yes, we are now a university-based project, right? And we've got funding from the government of Finland to explore the commercialization potential of a technology developed within academia. And this project is coming to an end. During this year, we've been checking different customer segments and how would they react to the technology, and where the pain lines lies, and what would be our go-to-market strategy. And we have mixed results, and we have uncertain future, and we are looking into incorporating and bringing that technology to the world. But how is a bit tricky.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And it's definitely been an awesome journey and very safe space for SimDec to take its first steps in this world. And now we're entering the land of uncertainty and the land of opportunity. So hopefully SimDec will help us shed some light into it.
Yes.
Do you mind if I share my screen?
Go ahead. Yes, I'm curious to see what's there.
All right. Well, you've seen it before, but let's pretend you did not.
Yeah, we are pretending for the video. Come on.
All right. So here is an Excel sheet. We all love Excel, don't we? And as Maria said, over the course of past few months, our core team, SimDec core team, has been talking to different people in the market and exploring the potential of the technology. Now we're in a position to finally make some decisions on how this project will proceed going forward. Is it going to be more academic adventures, more grant writing, research to business 2.0, or going into startup mode and commercializing the tool as it is today? And to evaluate the decision, we created a simple model to simulate what could happen to us should we move forward in the commercial path. We've got some input values here on, so some of these are pretty much fixed and dictated by the market. Others represent certain uncertainty that we will model today. As with most of the high-tech products, the core of the cost base is the salaries of the team. So we've got leadership team, some development personnel, software development, sales and customers people, marketing people, and some salary costs with overheads based on the market situation here in Finland. We may also assume that, as many startup teams, we are willing to compromise and allow a certain discount of the personnel cost for the first periods. Then we would have some IT costs, running the website, automating our sales outbound campaigns, cloud fees that would be depending on the number of clients that we serve, pilot and subscription clients. And finally, to simulate the revenue side of the things, these are some numbers that are inspired by our experimentation over the past few months, how many outbound requests we expect to send out per one full-time employee in sales and marketing, what the expected rate of response is, how many of those responses we're able to convert into quality demo sessions, eventually how many of those convert into a paid pilot with a certain fee, and then there are some time lags in between the periods, all of that to simulate the real picture that we have observed during this year. The ultimate goal is subscription revenue model. So the goal is to obtain a paying customer with certain annual subscription fee. This is now based on the competitors' research that we've done before. Of the model. So metrics that I have described earlier, we have some estimation month by month for 3 years ahead. That would be our planning horizon, starting from the outbound requests, outbound leads, all the way through demos and pilots to subscription customers that would be generating one-off as well as recurring revenue for the young team. Then we would have the costs, salaries, and IT tools. We expect to have certain initial capital to get started, which may be a grant, a seed round investment, or whatnot, depending on the market situation and our decision on how to go forward.
Yes, Sergey, what are the yellow cells? What are the yellow cells?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I have already played around with SimDec tool in this Excel file, and yellow cells represent the values where I see most uncertainty. I think the team agrees. So we can get started with only one person dealing with sales and existing customers. We could neglect all marketing efforts for the time being, and you can see that it has an impact on the cost side of the things, which goes down as the cost base, but it also has an impact on the number of leads that we are able to recruit and convert. So this is the kind of uncertainty that is modeled, and the yellow cells mean that in the tool that we have developed, I specified these factors as the ones that I would like to tweak, not manually, as you've just seen with the numbers changing on the right-hand side, but fully automatically 1,000 times within specified ranges, and hopefully with exciting insight to the core of our problem and decision-making situation.
Yep.
And hey, I brought up the interface already. So as mentioned, some of these factors are already specified, and essentially I specify the variables that I would like us to tweak because, for instance, we don't know how many salespeople we would like to get started with. It would be hard to promote a solution without any, but is it 1 or 2? What would be the right balance between the cost base and the number of leads that we can process? Same goes for the pilot conversion. Can we do better than 1 out of 10? Can we do, or are we too optimistic with 0.1? And actually, if you take a look at this line here, it says that we would be modeling situations from 1 out of 20 to 1 out of 10, and anything in between. We're also modeling how many pilots we're able to convert to a customer. Our assumption is that this conversion rate should be pretty high, because if a customer has already committed to pay for a pilot and entered us as a supplier in their databases, the barrier should be lower for us to enter into subscription mode. We think that reasonable price would be in the range between 9,000 and 15,000, and the personnel decisions as highlighted above. What is missing here, as you may notice, is what it is that we will be measuring as the success of this endeavor. And we could take different approaches here. We could measure the attractiveness of this project as with some traditional investment analysis metrics like NPV or IRR. But this time we're taking a slightly different approach, and we would like to measure the amount of cash that we would have at hand at the end of year 3 in our planning horizon. So I'll click Add Output, and I'll call the variable cash, and I'll specify that it lives in this cell in our beautiful Excel file. Looking at this, is there anything else we would like to simulate uncertainty for? Am I missing something?
It looks already quite complicated. But about uncertainty, do I get right that you just specify the minimum and the maximum estimates for each value, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's one way of doing things. We also have a bit more sophisticated functionality if there is already a random distribution assigned to a certain Excel cell, but we're basing off a pretty simple example today
Yeah,
because these are also the most common based on our
yeah,
findings.
yeah.
That's the model. And while I was speaking, I actually noticed that we did not specify the amount of cash that we would have, which is far from certain. We have some value here as a placeholder, but based on your findings now in Stanford campus in Silicon Valley, what would you say is a reasonable range for the seed round investment or the grants that we could secure to get the team started?
Okay, well, 150. Yeah, let's start from 150. I guess it's something that might be possible
Okay,
to get from the bunch of angel investors, perhaps.
the
And
lower
then let's,
range. Okay,
yeah, and let's go all the way up to, I don't know, 600.
that's ambitious, but hey, you
Wow.
know better. Let's go with this. I click save. You can see that it's here on the list. And we're pretty much good to go. We can specify how many times the model would recalculate itself. 1000 is a good bet. And I click run. And there we get the SimDec results. Let me zoom in a little bit. I know that you, Maria, have probably
On a small
increased
laptop.
the speed of that section, but I promise that on my machine, it did not take longer than 10 seconds. I timed it, so I'm telling you. Right, so how do we read that? We have an expected value here, and it says 33,000. Does it mean that this is the amount of money that we will end up with at the end of year 3? No way, or rather, far from certain would be the good answer. And this picture is the proof or opens up the topic a little bit more. And looking at this picture, first thing we see is that there is indeed a lot of uncertainty on how the factors that we specify may play out. And we may end up with anywhere between 900,000 of cash at hand from the revenue that we will have generated by this point of time, all the way to a pretty huge debt of 600,000 euros of free cash. So this is the worst case and the best case scenario, and everything in between, according to the height of the bar, is how likely different outcomes are. We also see color-coded the scenarios and the factors affecting them. I'm, of course, interested in the positive outcome for SimDec, and I kind of see that the blue colors are shifted more to the right, which indicates that we will end up with more cash than in other scenarios. And what I see from this table here is that blue color indicates high conversion rate from pilot to a subscription client, which seems to be the most significant factor, accounting for 36% of our uncertainty. So what does it tell us? We specified a bunch of factors, and many more were there in the model. One of them was, for example, compromise on the salary. So this result page is now telling us that how much we compromise on our salaries actually contributes to a very small share of volatility of the outcome. So it doesn't really matter if we save 10%, 5%, or 25% of the market value on the salaries, as long as we are able to deliver good quality of the pilots to our trial prospects. We are in a good position to be operationally profitable and eventually end up with positive cash flow. A second most important factor is the conversion rate from demo to the pilot. So really, in this business, it seems like what kind of price within specified range we set, even how many salespeople we got in the beginning, doesn't matter as much as how well we are able to deliver it. Well, one thing that still draws my attention is if we look at the absolute outcome of this. I mean, I have a lot of interest in this model. I'm a member of the core team, after all. I see that all except one scenarios are pretty much, well, they are exposed to a very large extent to the negative range of cash at hand, except this one that specifies that the initial capital requirement are high. So I can refer to this table and realize that essentially we would need somewhere between 400 and 600,000 to get started. Otherwise, we are too vulnerable in terms of our cash position. So no pressure, Maria. I hope that you have some good connections that you bring home.
Precisely the pressure it is, but it is also an actionable insight, right? It's what we get from SimDec, and it says what you need to do in order to be better off in the future, in the uncertain future. Yeah, but Sergey, you also have quite a lot of pressure with those conversion rates, so I'm not alone here.
To share. Was there anything you wanted us to try out still?
Yeah, I mean, this is just the beginning. For further we can go, we can play with the team composition, we can play actually with the structure of the whole thing, we can play even with business model, or we can play with the outreach channels. So that's a lot of opportunity here to study for an early stage pre-startup as we are. Yeah, but what I wanted to highlight is that actually a lot of startups I'm now talking to here in California, they're in a quite uncertain situation as well. The markets are down. Some people need to fire people. Some people are struggling to get new investment rounds. And something like that might be a handy tool to use. What do you think, Sergey?
Well, I definitely hope so. We've all heard the unfortunate news of the layoffs, first in Twitter, now in Meta, that came in just recently. Yeah. And you know better than anyone, being there in the heart of technology and tech giants, anyone can end up in this situation, and the overall market conditions right now are very volatile and uncertain, which is something that you started the video with. Yeah. Good news about SimDec as a tool is that no matter what your model is, no matter what kind of input factors we plug in, it's same click of a button and it would recalculate whatever you ask it to recalculate. There is much more information on our website in the description. Mm-hmm. And let us know if you have any thoughts to share or questions to this technology.
Yes, and please let us know if you have any thoughts about our project and our future plans. We would be super grateful to hear some feedback and some advice. Just shoot.
Right. If you have $500,000 to spare, good investment opportunity over here. Yeah. We can change the figures so that it looks even more attractive. Maybe you cut it out, or maybe you don't.
I don't. Okay. Thank you, Sergey.
Thanks, Maria, for the discussion.
Yeah. Thank you.
See you later.
Yeah. Bye.